Let us help you start your day. Good morning. President Trump prepares to meet with North Korea's leader, tensions between India and Pakistan reach new heights, and Britain's Labour Party changes its stance on a Brexit vote. Here's the latest. On Wednesday, Kim Jong-un and President Trump are to meet in Hanoi, Vietnam, to discuss the North's nuclear arsenal. The two leaders might also declare an end to the Korean War, which was technically only paused, according to South Korean officials. Seoul has long pushed for the peace declaration as a way to incentivize the North to give up its nuclear weapons. The meeting holds special significance for the vast Korean diaspora in Japan, who arrived during the Japanese occupation of the Korean peninsula. Many of these people, known as zainichi, have family members isolated in the North. History. In the late 1950s, Tokyo worked to repatriate Koreans who had moved or were forcibly taken to Japan to work during World War II. North Korea's economy was then larger than the South's and its promises of socialist programs were attractive. Nearly 95,000 Koreans migrated to the North, among them, the mother of the current North Korean leader. Go deeper. Mr. Kim's visit to Vietnam, his first, will be full of symbolism. We break down the historical and political undercurrents of his itinerary in the fellow communist country, which has shared a long friendship with North Korea. Facing a rash of resignations from Labour and the prospect of more, the party's leader, Jeremy Corbyn, dropped his resistance to a second referendum on whether the country should withdraw from the European Union. The amendment is unlikely to be approved in Parliament anytime soon, but it will cheer those in the country who have been fighting to reverse the outcome of the 2016 referendum. What's next? On Wednesday, Parliament is expected to vote to eliminate the chaotic option of leaving the EU without a transition plan in place. That would leave Prime Minister Theresa May, who met with European leaders in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, on Monday, with few options to complete Brexit by the March 29 deadline. Go deeper. Mrs. May has said that Britain's era of austerity is over. But a divorce from the European Union could depress growth for years. We explain austerity and how it has affected the politics of those who grew up knowing only the big squeeze. In January, Xi Jinping, China's president, summoned hundreds of officials to Beijing to convey an urgent message: the Communist Party faces major risks on all fronts. Whether dealing with foreign policy, trade, unemployment and even disillusionment among China's youth, Mr. Xi called on officials to keep trouble from spiraling into real threats. He demanded stricter controls on the internet and warned officials to beware of black swans and grey rhinos, meaning surprise economic shocks and financial risks hiding in plain sight. Why it matters. The warnings underscore how slowing growth in China and the country's trade war with the US are starting to affect the party's authority. Mr. Xi is in no mood to take any risks, while US trade negotiators have pushed Beijing to decrease state control of the economy. Trade talks. President Trump delayed his self-imposed March 1 deadline for increasing tariffs on Chinese goods, citing substantial progress in negotiations this week in Washington. He said he hoped to meet Mr. Xi to finalize the agreement, but no new deadline was set and no details of any potential deal were released. In the past few days, India has moved thousands of new troops into the Kashmir Valley. Families are fleeing the border area. A government directive ordered hospitals to gear up their rapid response teams. Food and fuel supplies are running out. And both countries have fired artillery shells. After a Kashmiri suicide bomber killed dozens of Indian paramilitary police officers this month, an attack that India blamed on Pakistan, tensions between the two nuclear-armed neighbors have reached a point that analysts say could be the most dangerous in years. The chances, an all-out conflict seems unlikely, some experts say. Though the two countries have gone to war over Kashmir several times since partition in 1947, neither side wants a dramatic escalation now. But the risks are compounded by a coming election in India in which Prime Minister Narendra Modi's party is using the episode to fan the flames of Hindu nationalism. Iran, the country's foreign minister, Mohammad Javad Zarif, abruptly resigned, bringing an end to the tenure of one of the Islamic Republic's best-known figures abroad. In his announcement on Instagram he cited his shortcomings, but as a proponent and broker of the country's nuclear deal, he has been under strong pressure from hardliners. Afghanistan, the Taliban and the U.S. began their highest-level negotiations yet in Doha, Qatar, with the insurgent group's deputy leader, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, at the table. His presence raises the possibility of progress toward ending the conflict. Australia, in the past decade, officials in Western Australia have sent thousands of people to jail for petty crimes, unpaid fines from minor offences, loitering or failure to register a dog. Aboriginal women made up a highly disproportionate share of those arrests.